everybody. My name is Chris Joseph, General Counsel for the Governor's Office, and welcome to the February 4th meeting of the Olmstead Commission. What I would like to do first is go around the table, see some new introductions. Around this end.
Anthony Bauer, Deputy Director, North Dakota Indian Affairs.
Judge Bobby Weiler.
Brenda Schmid, Advisory Council.
F. Boucher, Olmstead.
Ben Pancho, co-chair of the commission.
Brett Anderson, North Dakota Housing.
Brandon Detloff, North Dakota Housing Finance.
Page Feist, MFP Housing.
Kylie Erickson, MFP Housing Presenter.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Oh, so first thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. We have a. Oh, sorry, missed you there. Oh, so, okay. Thank you for being here. Next up, we have the approval of today's agenda. I'll give everybody, and then I'll of course motion for.
We're gonna go through the people online as well. Deneen, you wanna go?
Yep, Deneen Feist. I'm a member of the commission from Family Voices of North Dakota.
Senator Hogan.
I think they might have a hard time hearing you. You guys break up a little bit.
Okay, so I guess I can just go through who's online too. Senator Hogan, I see, is online. Shannon Coulter, she came to the last Olmstead Advisory Council meeting, and she is from XR for VR. Since we were talking about employment stuff. Tim, I don't know if I'll get your last name right, Eisinger?
Eisinger, very good.
Okay.
Very good.
And here for HHS, I assume?
Correct. I am substituting for Pat Trainer.
Okay. We've got Trisha
McNamee, yep. I'm a representative from Freedom Resource Center, or Center for Independent Living.
Welcome. Looks like we've got Pat. Pat, I will butcher your last name.
Yep, it's Bertinelli, and I'm from Job Service North Dakota.
Representative Mitzcog just logged in. Tanya, we've got Tanya online.
Good afternoon, Representative Mitzcog.
Tammy Turnus, she is on our advisory council as well. Got Donald Winter.
I'm also with XR for VR at BSC.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Tina Bay from HHS.
Yes, good afternoon. Just listening in.
Welcome. Jana Pastier, Commerce as
Yes.
well?
Yes, hello, I'm from the Department of Commerce. Thank you.
Great. That should be everybody. And we do have Representative Mitzcog is online too.
I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to review today's agenda. It looks sufficient for everyone. I will entertain a motion for approval.
Weiler, I'll motion for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Deneen will second.
Take a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Let's have it. Next up, similar thing. The approval of the November 2025 minutes. I trust everyone has had it. All. And motion for approval on those minutes.
Deneen approves.
I'll motion for approval.
Just in a second, any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. Have it. Okay, moving on to the fourth item on the agenda, plan review of goal number 4. And here we have a presentation from Cheryl Merck and Callie Erickson. Welcome.
Thank you. Cheryl was unable to make it today due to illness, so I am here and I brought Paige, who is on our staff here in Bismarck. So I'm Kylie Erickson. I'm with Money Follows the Person Housing. I'm the Assistant State Housing Facilitator. I've been at this role for about 12, well, with MFP for 12 years now. Paige has been with us for 3.5, 3-ish. So today's presentation is just about our 2 programs that we have across the state, and any questions we can do at the end, and we'll there. So Cheryl normally does this slide, so bear with me, but so the DOJ got involved with North Dakota back in 2020 with a settlement agreement, and that is where our program kind of got up and really running. We've been around since 2007, but in 2020, things kind of really escalated with making sure that individuals have all their rights are being met and needs are being met within the nursing homes. And if they're not, then we kind of get involved and help them get into a less restricted environment, back into the community of their choice. So what is MFP? So it's the, money follows the person, and we are addressing unique housing needs for aging and people with disabilities. So the majority of our referrals are individuals with disabilities and or aging. We, like I said, work really hard to get them into a community of their choice from a nursing home. So it's a less restricted environment. They're living more independently, and their needs are being met. So to qualify for MFP, the individual must express that they want to transition back to the community of their choice. The person needs to be in a nursing facility or intermediate care facility for at least 60 days, and then Medicaid eligible on their last day of their stay. So we work with transition coordinators across the state, and they are with the Centers of Independent Living. So in Fargo, we have the Freedom Resource Center. In Minot, Williston area, it's the Independence Center for Independent Living. Here in Bismarck, Mandan, Dickinson area, it's Dakota Center of Independent Living. And then Options is up in Grand Forks. So we work really close with the transition coordinators that are out of those agencies, and they help get the team developed so that this team it's a wraparound approach for each consumer we have. We also work closely with DD program managers across the state, and they are, we do transition all over. So today, for instance, I have a transition later this afternoon, an individual coming from Grafton, moving into an apartment here in Bismarck. So here is a graph kind of what the transition team looks like. So it's all centered around the individual. We have an HCBS case manager if they are receiving services in the community or want to receive services in the community. Then we have that transition coordinator that I spoke about. They're the ones that are in charge of getting the team around the table and making sure if there's any equipment needs that are needed, that the equipment gets ordered. A lot of the individuals we work with are coming from nursing homes and don't have anything. So the transition coordinator is in charge of getting furniture ordered, dishes, basically anything that that individual needs to be successful in the community. And then the housing facilitators, which is myself and Paige, and then we have, I think we're at 16 now across the state. The housing facilitator is in charge of finding that place to live if they don't have a place to go back to. So we assist with housing applications, housing assistance. So we work really close with the housing authorities all across the state to get vouchers in place. And we help with any sort of, if they needed like a modification to the apartment, maybe like a walk-in shower needs to be put in, or some individuals do have homes to return to, but they can't do stairs. So then we work closely with contractors and the RAP grant for ramps to be built so that the individual has a safe way to enter and exit their home. That individual is able to choose anybody else to come around the table. So whether that's family, pastor, friends, anybody like that, they can bring to the table. We work really close with the nursing home itself. So if that individual is involved in therapies, we really appreciate when social workers are around the table so that they can provide information for that individual for their cares, what that individual needs for to live successfully in the community. So, so basically, when the referral comes in, that transition coordinator is in charge of setting up the team meetings, getting everybody around that table, and making sure that the coordination runs smoothly, the process runs smoothly, so that from that day of the referral to the day of transition, everybody's on the same page and that transition can be successful. Like I mentioned, we work closely with HCBS. So individuals that are maybe needing 24-hour care in the nursing home and they need that in the community, which includes bathing, grocery shopping, dressing, cleaning, laundry, all the basic daily needs. Some of our individuals don't need that much care. You know, some just maybe need somebody to come in a couple times a week and do laundry or help clean, maybe do some meal prepping, things like that. But that case manager for HCBS sets up the services prior to that individual discharging, and then they are able to do the things that that individual needs. So again, housing facilitator role, we're there to help fill out applications, assist with locating personal identification. So whether that be a birth certificate, social security card, social security award letter, photo IDs, things like that. A lot of these people don't have any of that. So it's our job to help obtain all of those things because they ask for all of that for the housing piece. We are also there for lease signing days, viewing the apartments, just making sure that it's going to meet their needs and is affordable. So for referrals, they come from either the nursing home. We also have long-term options counselors. So those individuals are going into the nursing homes so often and meeting with those individuals that are on Medicaid and that are wanting to transition to the community. So they start the referral process. It can also come from that individual themselves or a family member. And then we've also seen an increase with referrals with HCBS managers. So some of our individuals, and I'll get to this too later in the presentation, our other program, a lot of our referrals are already in the community and we're trying to keep them in the community versus them going to nursing homes. So those referrals come from HCBS to maybe that individual needs more accessibility or more affordable, things like that. So that's where we would come into play to help them prevent them from going into the nursing home. So here's more on the options counseling. They'll provide information about community-based services, person-centered planning, and transition services to all target population members and guardians. Again, if they think that this might be an option for them, that's how the referral gets started and the process starts. Here's kind of how it trickles down. I won't read all of this, but basically starts and then it just goes through our admin down to the centers of independent living. And then each staff person gets assigned in that area. So here's a list of our current housing facilitators around the state. So as I mentioned, Cheryl, she is based out of Minot. She is the one in charge, our leader. So up in the Minot Williston area, we have three housing facilitators. Grand Forks, Devils Lake, we have 3. Fargo, Jamestown, we currently have 5, but we are in the process of hiring a 6th out there. And then in Bismarck, Dickinson, we have 4 of us. So this got kind of cut off, so I did print it off, but this just shows, so the first column is, so this is a running transition summary as to the grant year. And then the first column is children. So our program serves anybody from 0 to, I think our oldest was 99 that we transitioned out back into the community. So this just shows from, this starts at 2012. And then the next column is individuals with intellectual disabilities. And then the third column is individuals with a physical disability. The next column is older adult or elder. And then the second to last column is total transitions for that year. And then the last column is the total MFP transitions. So as you can see, so there's a few years where our transition totals dipped a little bit, and that was because our grant was potentially ending. So things started changing a little bit. And then when we got word that we were still up and running, it picked up again. But as you can see, after 2020 things have substantially gotten, or we've had many more transitions and many more referrals. So the next program I'm going to talk about is the Transition and Diversion Program. So this used to be called the ADRL, and then it was the TDPP program, pilot program. And then this last legislative session, it is a funded program. So this just talks about briefly about, it was a temporary service funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, and it has now become a permanent program of North Dakota. So this is a little bit different than MFP. You still get the transition coordinator, the housing facilitator, and the HCBS or PACE, whichever. But again, it's a transitional service from a qualified group setting, institutional diversion. So this is to prevent admission to a long-term institutional setting. Funding is approved by admin to address transition or diversion related needs such as a deposit and furniture. And then again, the housing facilitation. This program, so I should have mentioned too, with MFP, we follow our individuals for 365 days, the day of transition. So after that day of transition, we will follow them. We will check in with them, make sure things are good. If we need to intervene, if there's landlord issues or anything like that, we will intervene. With TDP, we only follow them for 90 days or 180, just depending on the situation. So the eligibility is a little bit different. Individual with a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, individuals with a record of such impairment, and individuals who is regarded as with such an impairment. So basically, that's, I guess, to be considered disabled or have the disability. Financially, they need to be receiving Medicaid or Medicaid expansion, and then and or on HCBS already. So again, like I mentioned, the individuals that are in the community that can be referred to our program would be considered the TDP program because they're already in the community, and we're trying to prevent that prevent them from coming or going into an institution. And here is a map of just the areas that the Centers of Independent Living cover. And so we, again, like I said, we have individual or housing facilitators and transition coordinators in each area. So those are the counties that we cover. Then here are some updated stats. So in the past, we did receive behavioral health referrals along with like homeless referrals, but we were getting so many on any given day that our staff were like drowning. So we worked with Better Together. What are some other ones, Paige? Yes. So we worked with them closely we started working with them so that they could take some of those referrals on. So in 2025, we received 655 referrals. And as of 2023, TDP has 2,872 referrals. Of those referrals, there have been 825 diversions. So that would be individuals that maybe needed some accessibility features in their home or whatever to prevent them from going to the nursing home. 699 transitions. And that one does not include the 21, 22 numbers. But as of January 30th of this year, we have 247 open cases. So some of this is a little outdated, but our admin, one of our gals up there, did a survey data, survey response for the TDP program. And so as of between the months of January 1st, 2024 and October 10th, it is showing that 89% are still in the same community that they initially transitioned to. 8% are not in the same community, and 3% did not respond. So as far as satisfaction, this is showing 80% were very satisfied, 1% was neither satisfied or dissatisfied, 1% somewhat dissatisfied, 11% chose not to respond. And what services were most helpful to when moving to the community? First month's rent and security deposit. So with the TDP, we are able to assist with first month's rent and deposit. And then furnishings minus TVs and groceries and clothes. So that's changed periodic or a couple different times throughout the program. But the main thing is first month's rent and deposit. And then furnishings, transition coordination, housing facilitation, any modifications and moving costs. So as far as people believing that they are more independent because of the information and services, 76 agreed, 9% were neutral. Then here's a few testimonials that we received through the survey. So it was a lifesaver. My HCBS case manager knows her stuff and was able to discuss the program with me, which turned out to be great. Everyone had their roles and all worked together as a team to make it happen. This program helped me to continue to be independent. The program was really helpful to me, helped me to stay mobile and independent. The workers that work there are extremely helpful. And everyone was so nice and helped me pack. They were kind and very helpful. This program helped me to stay in the community. So the program directors are Kayla Trespass and Heidi Zimmerman. So if you have any questions or need more information, those two would be the ones to have more information. And then if you have questions, you can email Cheryl or myself regarding the program or how to get into the program, things like that. So any questions?
I have one for you, if that's all right. What is the percentage?
I don't have. Yes. So the other thing too with MFP is we can do rental assistance for individuals. So whether they're waiting for a voucher or well, basically they're all waiting for a voucher, but we can put the, we can pay for the apartment until that individual moves in through this MFP rental assistance that we have. And well, all the wait lists across the state for a housing voucher are anywhere from 12 to 5 years. So these individuals, some of them are waiting a long time to get housing assistance. So that MFP rental assistance can kick in and act as the voucher. And then that individual is responsible for like the 30%. So the voucher usually covers about 70% of the rent, and then that individual is responsible for the 30%. We are able, like I said, we're able to hold the apartment. So a lot of apartments that because they come and go super fast, especially the accessibility ones, if they're fully accessible, which we need a lot of throughout the state of North Dakota. We are able to pay full rent until that individual is able to move in.
Thank you, Ms. Erickson. I have two questions for you. The first question is, a few slides back, you said the number one issue was the security deposit in first month. Is that the biggest barrier to accessible housing that you find?
Yes. A lot of a lot of them are fair market value, and a lot of our individuals, if not most of them, are on a fixed income. So they get Social Security, which, depending on what their work life was previously, is very minimal. And so being able to pay that first month's rent and deposit helps them out so that they can save up that extra month worth of income and then wait either for that voucher to kick in or, pay themselves. But the thing with TDP is we can only cover first month's rent and deposit. MFP, we're able to do more of a long-term assistance.
So my second question, maybe related, is you said earlier also that you sometimes mediate landlord-tenant disputes.
Mhm.
What are some of the issues or some of the recurring issues you find there that are disputes in between those two?
Let's see.
I would say reasonable accommodation.
Yeah.
That's a big one. A lot of the time, if the landlord is looking for getting whether it's putting in a ramp for getting into the building or things like that, we're facing a lot of backlash because that's having to come out of their pocket and they don't want to hear that. So we have to mitigate that. Sometimes, like Kylie said, we can help with the MFP and or TDP program, help cover that accommodation. But that's one of the biggest ones that I face is the
And I think
accommodation.
a lot of individuals, like paying rent on time is a big one. So trying to advocate, obviously, we all know we need to pay our bills on time, but some individuals don't get their SSI checks or SSDI checks until the middle of the month when rent is due the 5th of the month or 1st of the month. So we're able to, accommodate, we'll write letters and things like that for them to, be able to move their rent date or what have you. We see a lot of issues too with like emotional support animals and getting that documentation for the landlords. Trying to think what else.
Did you bring up the ADA certification at all that we're doing? We're now ADA, or most of us are training to be a ADA certified coordinator through the state of North Dakota. So I think that's going to be helping us in the long-term goal as well, because we'll be certified to recommend those accommodations. So I think that'll help us too, is to be having that certification to vouch for the landlords to get those recommendations done, completed.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission?
Yeah. I'll have a couple, kind of playing off of what Chris said, but I think Paige kind of answered that there's no cost sharing for modifying the homes that need to be modified. That's all going to be on them, correct?
So the individuals that, well, basically MFP can cover any of those modifications if needed. And we, like I mentioned, the RAP grant, we work with Shanna with Housing Finance Agency with RAP grants. So that can do any modifications like bathroom remodels, ramps, basically anything that needs to be accessible. So we go through them. But yeah, MFP has a pot of money that we use for those modifications so that it's not on the tenant themselves and or the landlord.
My second question is going to be, say we're here and we're going to transition into a rural community, tribal area per se. Medical expenses, we were able to go to the hospital here. Now transportation of any of that, costs of any of that, is that going to be on me, or is that going to?
So the individuals that are receiving like home and community-based services, they do, depending on their income, they have a whole assessment thing that they do. But there would be like a recipient liability. So each month, depending on that person's income, they might have a chart or a payment towards their cares. And depending on which program they're on with HCBS, transportation can be included in that. But again, it just depends on which.
And is there, I mean, that obviously would be something you guys would take care of transport, of making sure they have transportation to the hospitals and stuff like that, or is that kind of fall on them then?
That would be on like their HCBS case manager or the agency that's providing the cares.
Okay.
That one, kind of going off of what we said, but have you guys noticed that some of the landlords, as we have seen with, the housing vouchers, just refuse to work with you then? Because they don't want to deal with the headache of,
Yes.
the accommodations?
Yep. Some landlords set their payment standards higher so that the housing voucher doesn't work for any of their units.
Are you guys doing anything to try to fix that?
Right now, we're in the middle of discussions. We're part of like different apartment association groups. And so we've been kind of trying to mitigate that for the last, I don't know, 5 years. So that's something that we're still working on.
Ms. Dietz?
There's also 3 people online that I think want to talk. But my question goes back to, you mentioned that there's really not much for people experiencing mental health or substance use or that are unhoused. You're making referrals out. Like, are there any programs that are specifically like yours that would, assist people with those sorts of disabilities?
Like I mentioned, like there's Better Together that takes a lot of those referrals. I know there's other ones, I'm just drawing a blank on names. Free Through Recovery, like F5, those types of programs.
1915I.
1915I.
Yep.
Are the ones that kind of those would get those referrals that are coming out of, like a Heart View or homeless shelter, things like that.
Seeing no further questions from the room, we'll take the ones online.
Representative Mitskog?
Thank you. I appreciate that opportunity and the information that was shared. So I have kind of sounded the alarm for quite some time. I think we have a looming crisis with behavioral health, housing challenges. We've had individuals housed inappropriately. I don't want to go into that area, but in facilities, state hospital, because there are lack of housing choices in the community. And so there's been some discussions going on for the last 4 years about if we need to develop ICFs for housing options for these chronically mentally ill individuals that just are not real stable. So it's great that we're referring them to some other agencies, but I just want to acknowledge and create the awareness of the commission that this is a looming crisis, and we're going to have to tackle it. And I'm hoping that in the next legislative session that we can do something, because we're going to need some stable housing for these individuals, because the options right now, they're either, like I said, living in facilities that they shouldn't be in, basic care and long-term care facilities. And we talk about others with disabilities that are being housed inappropriately in these facilities, but there are chronically mentally ill individuals living in basic care facilities because there are no community housing options for them. I just, more of a statement than a question. Thank you.
If I can add to that, So we see a lot of those cases in the court system. And I had to house, I think we finally got our housing up in Jamestown or Devil's Lake area. But I had to house somebody at the state hospital for 7 months longer than what she needed to be because there were no housing available for her. And I'm not per statute allowed to release her without having the appropriate housing. So essentially the state paid for more restrictive housing than what was necessary. So we see that a lot when we find people not guilty by reason of mental health, and then we have to have them evaluated at the state hospital, and then we hold them there until the state hospital lets us know they should be released. Then it becomes a problem because I'm housing someone that I shouldn't be housing at the state hospital because there's nowhere to place them until we can get they need 24-hour supervision. Try to find housing with 24-hour supervision in this state is extremely hard.
And I have a constituent that's been at the state hospital most of the time over the last 10 years. Tried basic care facility and failed because of just really the lack of qualifications of that basic care facility. But somebody that is 32 years old and brilliant, and he's got a severe mental health diagnosis, and it's so inappropriate. But as a state, we've not done enough. I mean, to allow that individual or other individuals with similar mental health or behavioral health diagnoses live in the communities. So this is real, and this is just really unjust, and we have to solve this. So I want the commission to be aware of this. There are real situations right now that are currently playing out in North Dakota for individuals that don't have housing opportunities or choices for community-based living arrangements.
And I'll just kind of throw this out there. We have been working with the Ann Carlson Center in Jamestown really closely, and there's 4 individuals that are transitioning to Fargo, and they needed everything you can think of. Like, they're on ventilators, they need the track ceiling lifts, they needed they had certain qualifications, like no carpet, 15 outlets in each room, generators, all the things. And our housing facilitator out in Fargo was able to work with a landlord and get to apartments totally furnished or, totally utilized for these individuals. I'm not sure when they're transitioning, so I think the work is still being done, but there's 4 of them that are able to transition out of the Ann Carlson Center into the Fargo area. So it's not impossible, but it's been a work in progress. I want to say over a year now of just working closely with the landlords and getting all the things needed for these individuals. And I know mental health is a big thing. And so I hope we can, everybody can work together and come together and figure out a plan for individuals that have the mental health issues.
I have a comment as someone's. I agree with Representative Mitskog on the mental health, but also the high medical needs. We like that Ann Carlson thing. That's a thing where we don't have enough. We have people with cerebral palsy out here who need like the tracks and all the ventilators and 2 staff in the department. There's barriers, there's outliers being denied by DD, and this is aging has a better augmentative system, temporary funding, but this is a major gap that we need to cover. And I agree with Representative Mitskog in the court. I see a lot of it going on, and I think the commission and the department need to work on this with me because I deal with it. I get calls constantly. What can be done? And they get thrown around by the department, and it really gets frustrating for us too. Thank you.
Yeah, we have Deneen.
Yeah, I'm just out of curiosity. You noted that there were 51 children and youth that were under MFP. And I'm kind of curious about the circumstances for those children and approximately the age.
I don't have all of that data, but I do know that there were 2 families, I think, yeah, just this last year. So the 2025, 2 of them, the child was needing, so the child was on a ventilator, a newborn, probably not, I want to say it was like 6 weeks, he was 6 weeks old. But this family lived on like the 3rd floor of an apartment complex, and they would have to carry like the oxygen tanks and all the things to make sure that their son was able to survive. And so we got that referral in order for them to get in a more accessible unit or a unit with an elevator. So we have that type of situation. Yeah, I mean, I can get you that information. I just know the numbers. I don't know the
That would be great. I'd
circumstances.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can set that up. And then Senator Hogan? Senator Hogan? Is your microphone off? Shows it's on, but.
Yeah, she must be having a tech issue, I guess. Send it in the chat.
Yeah,
we'll
do
be
you
able
want to put
read
it in the chat and see if that works?
Kylie, I think it would be really important to know truly the individuals that you're serving, how many of them are required to obtain some form of rental assistance in order to be successful in the community? What percentage of that? Or are you finding homes that are within their price range? But I think it's really important to get a handle on how much of a need you have for success reliant on a long-term rental assistance.
That was one of the questions that I had given her, just looking at the statewide housing needs assessment. Just thinking about how realistic it is to find safe, accessible, and affordable housing. Like, are you seeing that most people are needing to be on?
Yes.
Okay.
Well-
So Jennifer, you're just wanting to see like an actual number. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll get that. And as far as accessibility, that's huge. We need more accessible units all across the state. It's just, elevators are great, but just ground floor units that are fully accessible so that that individual can wheel underneath the sink and do the dishes, or wheel right into their shower without any sort of devices in their way. I don't know how many units we have across the state off the top of my head, maybe Jennifer does. But it is definitely a need for accessibility and affordability. We all know everything inflation's insane right now. Housing prices are insane, apartment prices are insane. So just that rental assistance is huge for probably 95% of our individuals that we work with.
And just one more comment, if I may. I hate when the housing authorities, they just give you the list of accessible places, but here they don't know what the word accessible means. They
Right.
just think it's the elevator.
Right.
And that's it.
There's several, I mean, I can speak for Bismarck. There's several buildings that say they're accessible, but there's two steps into the building. That's not accessible, or it says the unit is accessible, but there's a bathtub. That's not accessible. We can make it safe for the individual by ordering the proper equipment, but it's not accessible. So we find that, a lot too across the state, that there's a gap between what is accessible and what's not accessible. So.
So do you think that with that, Trevor's comment, should we do a better job through our state agencies with education?
I think that would be huge across the state. It's not just one area, it's all over North Dakota. education on accommodations, modifications, accessibility, all of that would be beneficial.
Please.
So I have a comment question. So when we're talking about the rural areas, because we can talk about the metro, which, you know, more resources, but in the rural areas, when there is a need to have their homes modified. And so some of the language within the DD waiver is such that the barriers that are there for the accommodations, getting 3 bids, they live in a small town. How are they going to get 3? Are there contractors? And then also the people to do that work to make those accommodations. So I think we, you know, being such a rural state as well, I think the rural areas probably have the largest challenges.
Yes, for sure. There's a lot of consumers that we have, you know, in like the Hebron, Glen Olin, even smaller Gladstone areas, Belfield. And as much as they want to stay in their homes, they know they can't because of medical reasons or needing to be closer to family, you know, for safety and health, well-being. So it's hard because again, with the services too for the individuals in their homes, it's hard to get individuals to travel or, you know, QSP agencies to travel out to people's homes. So we're finding that a lot of those individuals are moving to the bigger areas in order to get that medical care they need or the apartment house that will meet their needs.
And I do agree with Brenda on the 3 bids. We need to get away from that. You know, it's hard enough even to get one. 3 is just unreasonable. I'm lucky if I can get 1 for a family, and that's it. So that needs to be changed in that waiver. Aging does this already. You need to be consistent between waivers because it's unfair to these families to have to do that and all the rigmarole you make them go through. It's unfair to the providers. Can't find them, and then those families don't get equipment that they need. I work with them all the time.
Senator
Trevor,
Hogan,
this is Representative Mitskog. I have noted your comments. There should be consistency across agencies, and I will not forget that. I'm taking note.
So Senator Hogan did post her question. It is, there are staffing challenges. Do we have adequate QSP, both urban and rural? And are there any opportunities with rural healthcare transformation?
I don't know if I can answer that.
That's a lot of HCBS, home community-based services. They would be better to answer that just because we don't deal so much as authorizing services. We don't do any of that. We just have the team that's set up, devised so that we can assess the needs and then they do the rest.
But I would say there is probably a shortage
Yeah.
throughout North Dakota, especially in the rural areas. Like for the Glen Olin case I'm dealing with, like that the QSP agency has to come from Bismarck, and just find somebody to come provide 24-hour care from Bismarck, and the travel and the weather and all the things, it's proving to be a barrier.
Yes, Ms. Dietz.
I'll be super fast because I know we're probably running behind schedule, but in reference to the getting 3 bids and making this consistent with the other waiver is the DD waiver is currently open for comment and amendment, and people could be making suggestions to the department right now to create that consistency there. And I think we have some people that are probably listening and could take that into account as well.
Thank you. Any further commission questions for Ms. Erickson? Are there any online? Okay, with that, thank you, Ms. Erickson. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. I'll now open up for discussion. Any commission member wish to discuss the topic? Next steps, wishes, anything? Comments? Any comments or points of discussion from members online?
I've got a question, I guess, and maybe it's just because I don't pay attention to the politics as much. But I know the state just got a bunch of money to help rural healthcare. Would any of that money, and maybe this is something we can look into, could we use any of that money as a way of setting up some more of the accessibility to rural areas for people with disabilities? Like a transition center, could that be included in any of the money that we got for rural healthcare? Is that not what that money's for? I don't know. I wouldn't know how to know that, but maybe some of the legislators would know more on if there's a way we can look into using some of that.
This is Representative Mitskog. No new construction. I think that's pretty clearly stated in the rules. I think renovations, remodels, or enhancement of current facilities, but it can't supplant existing funding. So yeah, whatever that means. But you know, there might be ways to augment, but I tell you, I think the reality that I think the grant process is open now, and the first year is probably going to be gobbled up by the large organizations that have teams working on this. But this is a 5-year program. Senator Hogan could add a lot more to this. I think your question, but I think it's complicated, but I think it's something we should explore.
I know there's a lot of nursing facilities that have closed over the years. I know there's one in Minokan, I think, that are essentially sitting empty that could be changed into affordable housing for people with disabilities. I don't know. Something to think about, I guess.
Any other comments?
Yeah, this is Deneen. I think, you know, depending upon the information we get about children and youth, I'd like to see that brought back, to review that information and see if there are, some gaps that we missed somewhere along the way, to better serve these families. Just saying.
Thank you. Next up, we have a presentation from Stephanie on the functional scope of the Olmstead Commission.
Yeah, so is this thing okay? So you had asked me, Chris, to kind of put together what are the options for what the commission can do. Give me 1 second to get it pulled up here. All right, so online, can you guys see the?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know why it's not coming up on our screen here. What? You know? Yeah? Center. Why is it on
Yeah, it should be.
the screen? Mm-hmm. What's up? These. Okay, now it's on my. Oh.
Yep, right.
Well, okay, but it's showing 2 different screens now. How do I get it to show one screen?
Can you just move that over so that the screen that we're using, there you go. Now you should be able to click that one, make it large. Oh, of course.
Okay, I shared that screen. I apologize for. Let's try this one. Does that work?
There you go.
Okay. Figure this out, you guys. Okay, so these are the things that the Olmstead Commission, can do. Um, so kind of what we've been doing, request information from people, they come in and tell us about different programs. Research, I do research like on the last couple of topics, customized employment and workers with disabilities, Medicaid. I do a bunch of research. I look at like what are other states doing? How, like, is there things that we can be doing differently to be more successful in customized employment per se? We can do recommendations. It seems that that's going to be probably a big part of what the commission does. Write a letter in support, publish white papers just to kind of get that information out there. Position statements, bring legislation. We have a couple of legislative members on the commission. Provide testimony. So during the legislative session to interim committees, advisory groups, I can do that. Submit comments or for administrative rules, and then file complaints or referrals. So that's kind of what the commission is able to do. Like, we're not able to, Veronica always says we don't have teeth, right? But these are the things that we're able to kind of like make those recommendations to the people that are able to make those decisions.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Okay.
And now commission members, now knowing that, are there any wishes on commission action regarding goal number 4, which is related to improving and expanding housing options?
Or even how to move forward for the
Or,
next meeting? Yeah.
Yes. Suggestions or ideas or wishes?
As far as the advisory council goes, and I'm just giving a couple of ideas that they had. One of which was about the getting like contractors to be able to do some of those smaller projects. It's kind of difficult for them to find people that are willing to do some of those home modifications. That was one of them. And then like the 3 bids did come up, like making that process a little bit easier, especially in the rural areas where there aren't a lot of options for contractors. The other one was the one that Trevor brought up about having having some continuity like amongst the waivers, like how in some waivers it's a little bit easier to get some of those things done than on other waivers. That's kind of what the council talked about at the last meeting when we said that our next topic is going to be housing.
The comment period is open for the DD waiver. That would be something that the commission could look at if you wanted.
So obviously, I'm a little concerned about that one because I don't know if there is a specific reason for the difference between the two waivers. It could be federal, it could be state. So I don't want to take a position on it before we know if we're even. I just want to make sure it's not prohibited by federal law, and then we're advocating for something that will end up not happening anyway. Ms. Dees, do you know anything about that? Do you know if, or Pat, do you know if there's a reason for the difference between the 2 waivers?
And I think that's the reason for public comment. You can just put your comment in, and if it's federal, they will give you an answer that's federal. So you don't need to know the reason before you put in the comment. So.
They're both federal waivers.
With the same criteria requirements?
So they're both federal waivers through Medicaid, and from what I know, the department gets to kind of fill in the blank on basically these standardized forms. And I'm currently digging through the 200+ page waiver that's open for comment. And I did notice that there were like 2 different areas where they specify that you need 3 estimates for anything that costs over $5,000. And I know that I've heard from advocates too, that's challenging. So when you do put a comment forward, whether you're just an individual citizen or a party, if the department feels like, that would be against the law or against CMS rules, they just put out their response to your comment, which is also public, that would explain that. I don't think there'd be any reason that you couldn't if the commission wanted to take that opportunity to say it. I mean, at worst, they're going to say, well, CMS doesn't allow that or something of that sort. But then CMS is also going to get a copy of all the people in North Dakota that say, this isn't working. So maybe it pushes CMS to examine their rules. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to challenge that.
What I know about the 3 three contractors basically is from procurement, state procurement office. They require that in their regulation. So that's what I know so far.
Hi, it's me again. So for procurement, I mean, that's what state agencies are subjected to, but actually, when you do the three bids, that dollar amount is much higher. So we're putting a lower dollar amount on these individuals seeking to get small things done on their house, like put in a ramp. So I don't know that I would equate that to necessarily the same thing.
Having heard that, are there any wishes or motions from a commission member? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the goal number 7, employment opportunities and incomes. And here we have a report to receive from the advisory council.
So this is the, oops. So this is the same presentation that I shared at the last commission meeting. I added in a couple of things under the recommendations. These are the same recommendations that were here last time, but I spoke with a provider that is trained on customized employment, and I spoke with VR again. And VR thinks they are probably going to, hopefully within the next year, reassess their reimbursement structure. So they are looking at that. VR said that they think that could be a good way. The provider definitely recommends this. They think this is better than paying for the staff time for the training, because once the training isn't covered by that NDCPD grant anymore, then the providers will have to pay for the training itself and for the staff time to do the training. But if you pay more for this service, then that takes care of both of those issues. And they really think that the providers would be more willing to do customized employment if they are getting paid more either per hour or in the milestone payments. They think that they would be more willing to put in that extra time and effort to get their staff trained and to actually do the customized employment as instead of like supported employment, because they would be able to make more money on that. The fourth one there, engage in broad marketing efforts. VR really supports that one. VR and the provider both liked the idea of creating some sort of a career path for people in high school or college to get into the direct service workforce. So what I did is I just looked at what some other states are doing. And really, if you want to go, these are all links in the email that I sent to you all. So you can see all of this if you want to dig into this a little bit deeper, but there are a lot of other states that are making this happen, where they have kids that are either in high school or in college that are getting credits in order to work in this field. And then they're seeing that a lot of them are sticking around in the field because they're kind of falling in love with it. So that's a good one. VR did come up with another idea. Tom, that came to our meeting last time, he had the idea of having one provider in each region, and they thought you could have 4 or 5 regions in the state, have one person that's customized in employment that is trained on customized employment and does it for that region. The idea is that if you have somebody that does this as their main job, that they're going to do a better job than if people do this every once in a while. And it's a really complex process. And so they thought that if you could have like one expert in each of these regions, then they would be able to do a better job of it. So that was an idea from Tom. And then we get to our advisory council recommendations. So I will turn it over to Brenda.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda Schmid, and who am I and why am I here? Well, I'm on the advisory council, and I'm a mother of a beautiful daughter who is 28 years old, who has significant disabilities and complex medical needs. And so I'm happy to have this opportunity to be on the advisory council and to meet all of you. So we met, and that's Veronica. Stephanie had done some research, so we were able to get even more educated on the recommendations. So as an advisory council, we support the number 2, recommend VR reassesses and updates the reimbursement structure for the customized employment services. And then also number 9, have one provider with a dedicated staff. Again, this is something that was brought to us by VR. And then just from what Stephanie has shared, I just really think we felt as a council that was a recommendation that we strongly supported. Also being worth noting, the advisory council wanted number 4, engage in broad marketing efforts such as publishing white papers or other materials to share the success of customized employment with a broader community. I think anytime you can share a success story, it just really gets people excited about what you're doing, and then people just continue to share it and share it and share it. We think it would be a valuable thing to do. And then number 5, explore the creation of career path for high school and college students. This one speaks to my heart, huge. And Hannah attended a Fargo Public Schools, and we used to have, it was called social inclusion, and where high school students would get credit to come in and spend time in the special education room. And it changed that, getting credit, it changed lives, and also made them think more about that as a career path. So and then just showing the success that you looked into. And also, again, having VR and the providers really supporting this idea. So thank you.
Question for you. Is that the order in which you like them?
Yes, it is. So so the top 2 that we chose, right? Because I mean, there's a lot, and so you can recommend all day, but we have to actually do something too, right? And so yes, the top number 2 and number 9 are our top supported recommendations, and then noteworthy.
With 2 being the favored.
Yes, yeah, yes. Sorry. Yep.
Any? Deneen, do you want to say that? I have a comment from Deneen online.
Yeah, I'm because I live in a rural area, I know that it's really difficult to get VR into some of our more rural schools. So I'd really like to see something happen for our students and youth that are in the rural areas as well. So it was just a comment that I had, because it is just difficult.
So is that within all the recommendations, is there, looking back at them, is anything within the other recommendations about the rural areas?
Well, with a lot of the families I talk to, they don't even know that VR exists until I say something to them. So, I mean, that's a difficult question, Brenda.
You're welcome.
So Deneen, a little further up, one of the things that when I spoke to VR, this number 3, support and expand programs that introduce students with disabilities and their families to competitive integrated employment. One of the ideas was to expand that. VR does do, they have contracts with some schools, but to expand that would be an option.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely needed.
Any further comments, questions? Any questions, comments from members online? Seeing none, are there any commission wishes, ideas, suggestions, ways to proceed?
I think I would suggest that we adopt the 4 recommendation from advisory and add the other one on, so there will be 5, number 3, so in order to serve the rural area. Yes,
And these two?
yep,
and
plus
number
1,
3.
yep.
Make the
With
recommendation. Yep.
yeah, yep, that's the motion.
Is there a second?
Deneen seconds.
You have a second. Are there any commission discussion? Seeing none, let's do recorded roll call vote.
Do I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Senator Hogan,
Yes.
Veronica,
Yes.
Ruben,
Yes.
Carrie. I don't know if we got Carrie online. Chris,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes.
Representative Mitzcog,
Yes.
Judge Weiler,
Yes. Weiler.
Weiler, and Deneen.
Yes.
Right.
Unanimous? Okay, the motion passes. Good job, Ruben.
And really, when we're looking at getting these things done, this first one is just recommend to VR. Cheryl said that they were very receptive to that idea. They are thinking that they might be doing it anyway, so that just that extra push from the Olmstead Commission. Same thing with this, make the recommendation to VR. This is number 4, engage in broad marketing efforts. That's something I can do in combination with VR, and I think of like the NDCPD. That's something that they're, pushing to. They actually, VR told me that they have some success stories that they've already done, like they've created some videos and stuff. So sharing that out wouldn't be super hard. I have been in talks with somebody from the Fargo area that has been kind of looking at a career path for high school and college students. So I will dig into that a little bit more. In the meantime, you guys all can take a look at this slide. Has a lot of information about how other states are doing it really well in various different ways. And then which other one did we say? Number 3. Number 3, support and expand programs. Again, that's going to be kind of a recommendation to VR, and then I can explore other ways that we can try to expand that influence.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Chris,
Yes.
just an idea. To Deneen's point earlier about, our rural communities having trouble accessing services, perhaps we could spotlight with the one that's more about awareness, whatever number that is. We could spotlight some rural communities or plan for some specific outreach to our rural communities. I would also suggest for the pathway item that you look into what ABLE is doing out in Dickinson.
Okay. And actually, Shannon, do we still have Shannon online?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Shannon. Would
Hi.
you mind sharing just a little bit about, I met with Shannon. She's from XR for VR, extended reality for VR. And I went over and saw them. They're at the BSC campus and they have extended reality. It's like an entire room that you can like see a job. You can you basically walk in the footsteps of somebody that's doing this job. Or they also have like the headsets, that kind of thing too. But Shannon, would you share a little bit about like getting those extended reality rooms into some of those more rural areas?
Yeah, so the XR for VR project focuses, there's 3 core components of it. And the first one is to increase awareness of manufacturing careers through extended reality. So we do that using the headsets that have over 70 career experiences on them. Additionally, we have opened our very first immersive reality room here on campus at Bismarck State College. And so those awareness videos, those career awareness videos are located in the room as well. It's, we use it as a kind of a backup as if any of our participants, individuals with disabilities who have sensory issues, who can't use headsets, this is an alternative, or for classes that want to bring a larger number of students to experience it. But there's the career awareness videos, as well as different simulations that are available. And so part of the grant, we will be opening 8 additional rooms across the state. We're hoping to get them in more rural areas so that individuals with disabilities have the opportunity to see what career options are out there for them when they can't go to a bigger city and actually tour the manufacturing facilities. So that's kind of an overview. I mean, there's a lot more to our grant than just the immersive reality rooms that I'd be happy to share. If you'd like to, have me present at some point.
Yeah, I
At your
just
meeting.
remember you talking about those, getting some of those rooms into the rural areas. So that just made a lot of sense with number 3 there, getting more people aware of some of these things a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so we're looking to put one in each region across the state of North Dakota. I already have some commitments. I've got one in Watford City. We're looking in Wapaton, potentially Grand Forks. But yeah, so if any of you know a great location that I could look at, then I would really appreciate that input as well.
Great. We have a question online or a hand up. Was it Representative Mitskog?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very aware of the virtual tool to expose potential workers to opportunities in the workforce in North Dakota for employment opportunities. I think we as a commission, though, should push a little bit to expand. I think we've got to work with our employers because we have a potential workforce full of workers that might need a little assistance for customization of job opportunities and job positions, whether it be somebody with in the autism spectrum to somebody that has a physical disability. I think we need to, it's great to expose them to current job opportunities, but what are we going to do to educate our employers that they may be overlooking a segment of our population that would be great workers, but they may have to modify some of the jobs to accommodate for the disability. So just a comment. Thank you.
That also is a very big part of our grant. We are working with manufacturing employers as well as other sectors to educate them on the assistive technology that is available to help individuals with disabilities be able to do jobs that maybe they might not be able to do otherwise. We are a partner with Indie Assistive, who we've established a loan library with that has assistive technology that our participants can use during their employment. So that is a big part of what we are doing, is educating employers as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Trainer, do you have a comment? Oh, go for it. Yeah, go. Yep.
Great to be with you, Pat Trainer with Health and Human Services. I've been observing, listening, taking great notes. I would suggest we have a presentation on the rural health transformation opportunities at the next meeting. A lot of details we're still working out. We submitted the final budget and again, we can amend the budget. So I want people to know that after the special legislative session, we submitted it last Friday. They ultimately have up to 30 days to approve that, but they assured us it wouldn't take that long. So we want you to know, so as you look at, rural health transformation dollars, there's several unallowable things like Representative Mitskog said. Senator Hogan asked the question. It's a good question. Judge, you asked the question as well. remodeling, of facilities, think care closer to home. So there are ways to look at this. And so how we're trying to approach it as a department is, why don't we ask? So we don't know for sure every single disallowable thing, but we know a few things. New construction's unallowable, but could we remodel certain things? Could we have childcares within healthcare facilities to remodel different areas for that? Can we provide technical assistant grants to try to integrate better care closer to home? So planning grants, could be something that we could get experts, to come in and help us to ensure care closest to home. We know that housing is a serious problem. The rural health transformation grant isn't the purpose for housing per se, but somehow if we can connect, the adaptive equipment that's needed, we have telehealth, we have all sorts of things that could be, door openers that expand accessibility and care closer to home. So I think we may want to talk further about ideas. So we would love, in the next 30 to 45 days, we're going to have a lot more clarity on what CMS, Center for Medicaid Services, feels is permissible or not permissible. I know we can't do, just plain out unsustainable activities like paying for wages and things like that have no sustainable future, but we could step up things that have a sustainable future. So there's creative ways to look at everything. Secondly, there were some comments on accommodations and things that were made that were really good suggestions. And then comments on waivers and things like that. I would encourage everyone to get on the record the encouraging changes that we should make to policy, to practice. Even if it's in there, I can tell you our people read it. So I want to make sure that you're encouraged to write us a letter, have some of these things, and if they're particular to a waiver, have them in there. We would encourage the department to look at this. The other one that you commented on, or that I was listening to that I took notes on, is can you make a list in your minutes of the key takeaways that were, even if they're not formal motions, that were things for the department to look into and that we could follow up? I know there were several things. There were requests today on data. And I think understanding where we are, I think Deneen Feist asked a question. I think Jennifer, you asked a question, and we didn't have all the data, but I just would be helpful for us if at the end you had what we consider follow-up items. I don't know how you do it, but on several boards that I'm on, we put follow-up items. And so maybe the department then can have a list that we know, look, we should come back and follow up on those. And if we don't have the answer, to let you know we don't, but we're working on it, or we need to do a specific request internally to get the answer. And I think that's what I had for now. And I took a lot more notes, but I may not have them all. So I'd encourage you, with a open heart to call us, get us suggestions for how we can be the most accommodative as an agency. We have a lot to work on together. So thank you. And then we do have really good people, but it is a difficult system to work within, and there's a lot of rules and regulations. So it can be overwhelming to all of us. So thank you for what you do, as a commission, and happy to stand for any suggestions or questions.
Thank you. Who would be the right person to contact from the department for that presentation in May?
That was gonna be my
Oh,
question too.
okay.
Yeah.
I think send it to me and I'll route it.
Okay.
Sally, of course, is the
Yeah.
person that
Okay.
runs my schedule, but then we'll get it to the right people so that we have that.
I love the idea of the follow-up items. I think I'll start adding that to our, to our meetings. Yeah, to the meeting minutes. I love that.
So is the next meeting in May?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that gives us plenty of time on the rural health
Mhm.
transformation, because we'll be rolling it out. Remember, we have to obligate $199 million by September of this year. And then a whole nother rollout starts of October 31st for year 2. So that's what we had to have the special legislative session, because they're really giving us 2 years worth of funding. and a ton to implement. So think creatively. The answer right now should be, let's think creatively and not prevent us from dreaming big on what could be. Because we can always ask, and I'm thinking CMS in particular. So
Any further questions or comments to Mr. Trainer from the commission? Any questions online, comments online?
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, having heard that, we are again going to review goal number 4, improve and expand housing options. And just to reiterate or ask again, are there any commission members wishing to do anything or any motions regarding housing and improvement thereof so far?
This is Veronica.
Yeah.
I would move to have staff submit comments on the open DD waiver. That's looking at different options to prove disability accommodations that can be funded through that service. I would also ask that she prepare a slide deck or recommendations for our next meeting that kind of mirror what she's done for customized employment, that lays out a bunch of options and kind of recaps the issue for us. Only meeting quarterly, it's really hard to pick up where we left off, so that's incredibly helpful.
Okay, we have a first. Is there a second?
Are you thinking specifically on the, like, the, like, 3 bids for, like, getting modifications done, or like?
Uh, I'm thinking more generally housing big picture, because those comments would have to be submitted before our next meeting. So I think I would just be asking you to run with that, hearing what you've heard from the commission and making sure that the comment you submit is representative of what we've been talking about today.
And then the recommendations for the presentation?
Those would be more big
Or-
picture.
Okay.
And those might be something as we get more information and presentations, you continue to fill out for us.
Sounds good.
Longest motion in the world.
So we have a first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any committee discussion? Commission discussion, sorry.
Is that you, Bobby?
Yeah.
Any discussion online? Okay, with that, we'll do a recorded roll call vote.
Senator Hogan?
Aye.
Veronica?
Yes.
Ruben?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tanya?
Yes.
Representative Mitskog?
Yes.
Judge Weiler?
Yes.
And Deneen?
Yes.
Guessing it passes. Thank you. Now,
Anyone?
before we get to public comments, regarding,
We have one more
oh,
thing.
yes.
Workers with Disabilities Medicaid.
Oh, I skipped that completely. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, yes.
Let's see. There we go. Again, I did do a little bit more. So this is the same presentation from last time, but I added a couple of things in red here. We didn't have the numbers from last time, and there were some questions about the numbers. So on this slide, it shows for the last year, there were 37,446 people enrolled in medically needy. Of those, there were 24,738 had a client share. Remember, that client share was like where they paid, it's almost like a monthly deductible. So if they're on medically needy, they make higher than they're able to be on Medicaid, they have to pay down to that level, which is like, I think like 1174 or something off the top of my head. I can't remember. Yeah. So they have to pay down to that level. So they, in this case here, and this is one of the cases that, can't remember what anybody remember what her name was from last time? No. Anyway, this was an example that she shared with us that was the client share was $1,000 on the medically needy versus $163 if they would have been on Workers with Disabilities Medicaid. So there were an average of 522 members of Workers with Disabilities Medicaid each month from January to October of 2025. So we've got 500 people that are on Workers with Disabilities Medicaid, and they're getting that smaller recipient liability. And then there's 24,700 people that are paying down to that income level. So it's affecting a lot of people. I just don't think that we all understood the magnitude of it until we saw these numbers. They think that automation will be in place somewhere in 2027. They don't really know what time yet exactly. And then we get to our recommendations. These are all of the same recommendations that were on there last time. And then I will turn it over to Brenda.
Okay, so the number one, the HHS automate enrollment sooner than 2027 if possible. I know that sounds, like a giant ask and a lot of different variables, but in the key findings, one thing that also is in your handout is the what Amy Bergen, part of her presentation from the last meeting.
A couple meetings ago.
Couple
Yep.
of meetings ago. And so her number one key finding was North Dakota Medicaid space system does not automatically test for workers with disability when earnings are present. So, and then on her second one on the timeline, she has timeline and leadership awareness. So policy administrator admitted spaces system never tested for workers with disability and wasn't tested before launching, estimating 300 plus potential eligible, but not enrolled. If CMS finds out about this, we would be in trouble. This is what Amy had brought up, and she is right. So that was our number one that we recommend. Then number two, HHS clarifies terminology on its website to avoid confusion caused by interchangeable use of terms, gross income, countable income, gross countable income, and publish a transparent, user-friendly online guide explaining how countable income is calculated. It's all very, very complicated, and so the clarification of terminology is essential. And then number three, is HHS provides more training for eligibility workers to ensure they are testing for workers with disability Medicaid prior to automation. So again, on the key findings, enrollment for workers with disability depends entirely on depends entirely on an eligibility worker to catch it. A process leadership admits is prone to error. And then again, with the timeline that she put, the timeline and leadership awareness part, Medicaid director confirmed automation missing, committed to eventually fix, but no time. Oh, sorry.
Senator Hogan, would you please mute your mic?
We already did.
Oh, okay. So I know I loved her voice in my head for a minute though. That was kind of cool. Kind of felt like a senator for a minute. So in the timeline, Medicaid director confirmed automation missing, committed to eventually fix it, but no timeline. Suggested training despite acknowledging human error risk. Number four, HHS contact anyone who is currently paying a client share to give them information about workers with disability Medicaid and ask them to schedule an appointment. Number five, HHS create an online payment documentation portal for workers with disability Medicaid to reduce paperwork and prevent documents from being lost. This is something that our advisory council added on, thanks to Trevor, just talking about some of the difficulties he has, and not just Trevor, but others with the payments and loss of paperwork, and that should be. Did you want to add anything to that, Trevor?
Yeah, it's just each worker, they lose it. I have the receipt they stamp, and it just seems like there's got to be a better way to do that because it's just not, you couldn't be backed up for 3 months and here you lose your food stamp paperwork or a check was missing. And I have copies of it stating I have it. So there's got to be a better way to keep track of this in the department from the human resource perspective. and the accounting, because there's gotta be better ways. There's gotta be, it can't be the zone, it's the state office is what's happening.
Thanks, Trevor. And then number 6 is to remove the $100 enrollment fee. And that we,
Yeah, that one was, I think it was Senator Hogan. I think that one was Senator Hogan. I think she brought that up at the last Olmstead meeting, that we wanted to know if that was a possibility, and it is.
so yeah, those were our recommendations that we supported. And I think that given the numbers and this information that's here, I sense that there's some urgency in getting this rectified, given the timelines. I think that Amy pretty much laid it out there that this something has to be done, or there might be litigation, federally. So.
Thank you. Actually, I have a question for Senator Hogan. Senator Hogan, do you know why that $100 enrollment fee was established and what the money is spent on?
I don't know the specific history of that, but oftentimes there were policies that were put in place to make sure that people made a personal committee. It's the skin in the game argument, and I suspect that was the discussion. Is if a consumer had more skin in the game, they would comply more thoroughly.
Okay, thank you.
And I strongly oppose taking it off. I mean, I want to take it off. I want to take it off. I think it's
Yeah.
bad.
Said she opposes it. She wants to take it off. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Are there any commission questions or points of discussion?
So this is Representative Mitzvah. Will that take legislative action to remove that $100
Yes.
skin in the game? I that's just very troubling. That's too much money, and what a barrier. So can somebody help me understand, Senator Hogan or Christopher? Or
Yeah. Ms.
Yes,
Joseph and Senator Representative Biscock, I think it's a policy. I don't think it's law. And DHS can check it after this meeting, but I think it's administrative rule. It's policy, not law.
This is codified.
So will that have to go through an 18-month that time period, Christopher, for a change in administrative code? But I would strongly recommend that we come out of today's meeting with a motion.
Yeah, if that $100 enrollment fee is codified in 5024.1 or 2.7, it has to be removed by legislation as well. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Oh,
It can go in technical corrections in the first bill, Christopher.
This is. Well, I'll take that.
Oh.
This is Deneen. I just have one question that I need clarification on. So for workers with disabilities, does that have to go through the zone, or are consumers also directed to the toll-free line?
What I will, if I could add to that, Christopher, I would like to say they want us to do it through the mail, but I choose to take it down because I don't want it to get lost in the mail. So I want proof that that check was sent. I don't trust the U.S. Postal Service. So I just have them stamp it so I have proof what's going on.
Any further comments or discussion? Are there any commission wishes regarding these recommendations?
Well, I did my question get answered? Does it go through the zone, or are people working through the toll-free line?
Both. The answer is both.
Okay.
So like Trevor says, he chooses to use one way, but there are many ways. And on really complicated or important issues, I always say walk in the zone office and deal with the zone people, because then it doesn't get lost in the system.
And
Okay.
just commission members' information, that section in subsection 4 says it must include a one-time program enrollment fee of $100. So since that isn't Century Code, it would have to be removed by the Assembly or via legislation.
Thanks, Chris.
And this is Deneen going back to being able to do it on both ends, the toll-free line or going to the zone. There are still so many issues with calling that toll-free line. We've had people on hold for 2 hours, and then if it gets close to 5 o'clock, it just shuts off and you're just disconnected. And there is still a lot of frustration. I would really like to see the department work on something better, especially for our individuals with that are vulnerable population who, you know, sitting on hold for 2 hours is not productive for anybody, quite frankly. So
Can I make a comment on that? How easy would it be for us to recommend something like when my mother, she recently had to get on Social Security, she called and they just made an appointment and said, we'll call you next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Or something like the DOT does, and you go online, make an appointment, and then you're guaranteed at least like an hour time frame of when you're going to get a call. That's something we can look into or make a recommendation for so that people aren't waiting on the phone for 2-3 hours, like an appointment system.
I think they're kind of doing that for SNAP reviews, but my experience with that is that the mail again, they don't get it in time and then you miss the interview and you miss it 3-4 days. Then you have to call back and you try to get back on the interview list and it's a mess. So we got to really watch that because there's been times I've lost my food stamps. The department has missed paperwork and it takes 4 months to get back on. So it's really a problem. And the families I help really don't have time to be just sitting around waiting. We gotta find a better way.
Does the main communication or it's through the mail? They don't call you to set the appointment?
No, they'll do it through automation. They'll pick the time, and then if that time doesn't work for you, or if you don't get the letter, like I got mine a day late, so I said, "Oh, I missed this already." Nobody called me, so I was like, I had to call back and then reschedule it. Luckily, the lady said, "Hang on, I'll transfer you here, I'll transfer you there." It's just a rigmarole.
Judge Wiley, is that a motion? You'd like to make that recommendation?
Sure.
I
I don't know if I articulated it in a way that probably is helpful at this point, but essentially maybe a better, my recommendation is that we recommend a better appointment system to make sure that they're able to get to these appointments, whether that be phone calls, some kind of automated call to tell them when their appointments are. Yes.
Yeah, I think a more streamlined service. And when she said that, I was already going through that. I mean, we're talking about labor. If she's waiting on the phone for 2 hours, how much money did we just waste for her sitting on the phone for 2 hours? 2 hours worth of labor times how many people are on the phone system for waiting for that. So having a streamlined service is going to be beneficial, I think. Going to be one that we're going to, if we want every worker in North Dakota to be working, most of the times we're going to have to streamline a lot of these services and procedures for sure.
So Anthony, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like a second.
I'm going to second it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Any commission discussion? Okay,
Just
let's
a
do another-
comment, Christopher.
Sure.
This is Senator Hogan. I know the department is aware of the issues, but some of these issues are big systems problems that were established a significant time years ago. And so systems changes are very slow and expensive. But I do know that they're looking at these issues. And I think they would appreciate knowing the specifics that we heard today, because those are consumer. So I think this is a good memo, but I want you all to know this is not an easy fix.
Also, can we get the clarification on number one? Because number one seemed to be ambiguous to me, the way it sound like when you say sooner than 27 if possible. What does that mean? And also, as we know, enrollment, they have to have time specific. You know.
But before that, we have a motion on the table.
Oh, okay.
That's,
So
that's,
we would add that as number 7, right? Is that what we're saying?
oh, I thought your motion was just for the one.
Oh,
The
okay.
one automatic, you want all 6,
Oh.
including yours?
No, hers was to add another.
Add another one.
Oh,
Yeah,
number
that
7.
one's not, the one I made a motion on isn't up there yet.
Okay, so first let's do recorded roll call vote on adding that as a number 7.
Okay, perfect.
Senator Hogan,
Yes.
Veronica,
Yes.
Ruben,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Tanya. Tanya,
People might have left.
Representative Mitzcog. Representative Mitzcog. Deneen.
Yeah, we definitely lost them.
I think we lost him.
It shows everybody's.
You could on the chat just put vote by chat.
This
Melissa
is
just
Representative
texted.
Mitzcog. I
Oh.
voted yes. I'm having problems,
Oh,
audio
okay.
problems.
So
So I
Representative
vote yes. Thank
Mitzcog,
you.
yes. Tanya,
Yes.
Deneen. Judge Weiler.
Yes.
Okay. We didn't get
Deneen's
Deneen.
not
Yeah.
able to unmute.
I'll put it. Deneen, if you can hear me, put it in the chat. Mm-hmm.
Motion passes.
So now I would move to approve all 7 of those.
Okay, we have a first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? I will
Just one comment is on number 6. I think we would need to have our legislative members be willing to work with maybe Steph to draft a bill and bring it forward, since I don't think the commission necessarily has that capacity.
So maybe amend number 6 to work with legislators to draft a bill.
This is Representative Mitzcog. I would
Right.
appreciate that. And to keep, I think, clarity and a reminder moving forward in the upcoming legislature, we would need, I think, this assistance of Stephanie to help us with legislative action.
So commission members, I will be voting yes for this, for these 7. I just want to put on the record that I'm slightly concerned about that number 6, voting to remove something, advocating to remove something without knowing why it's there or where the money's going or being spent on. But
Do we want to do a little bit more research on that? And then,
the motion's already been.
okay.
I mean, I
Uh,
can amend it if we.
I can amend the motion to say,
All of them but number 6, and then we'll do more research on that one.
yeah, let's do that. I'll amend my motion to remove number 6. So it'd be actually 6, 7 will move to 6, and then we'll research number 6 more.
Okay.
There's second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, let's do another recorded call when you're ready.
Senator Hogan,
Yes.
Veronica,
Yes.
Ruben,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes.
Representative Mitzcog,
No,
Judge Weiler,
Yes.
Deneen.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay. Commission members, before we get to the public comments, are there any wishes for the May 13th meeting as far as presentations? In addition to the one by HHS? Any ideas, suggestions, wishes?
Can we maybe look into, so we've done housing for those with physical disabilities, housing for those with, through the presentations today. I don't know if we've actually looked into housing for those with a diagnosed mental health disorder. Because I know that a lot of the presenters today were talking about, well, we go through West Central. Not everybody that has a mental health disorder also has an addiction order. Those are two different classifications at looking at housing. Is there someone we can reach out to that can actually explain to us what's the housing available for those with a mental health diagnosis? I personally, maybe this is a little personal for me since I start my mental health court here in July, on just me trying to find housing for those with mental health has been so struggling. And that's me working with the people that they have mentioned today, working with Ministry on the Margins, working with essentially every type of, there's just not housing available. So if there's someone we can reach out to for that, I don't know who that is, but maybe we can look into that for a presentation.
Perhaps
To present.
Perhaps we could have Chandler Eisinger, who's the
Yeah.
president of the coalition. She knows
that
that
might
pretty
help.
well.
Yeah.
I think that's who you want.
So maybe looking into that, because I don't know if we've really addressed that need yet.
And that was a
And
big thing.
perhaps the other thing you could do with there's the new governor's commission on ending homelessness, and perhaps you could provide a little bit of update on both of those things.
That would be good.
I would also suggest, Heather Brandt is from the Behavioral Health Division, has been talking about a gap in housing related to serious mental illness. Because it's over and above what Cooper House, LaGrave on First, and Edwinton, which is our permanent supportive housing projects. So she might have some information on what is and is not available and what's supported as far as services that the department supports with funding.
Any other ideas for the next meeting? Sounds like a lot already, but any other?
I'm gonna be here late
Christopher, this is Representative Mitskog.
Yes.
This is extremely timely. We need to have this on an agenda. And I think maybe in the months ahead, the staff can do some research on who would be best to present on this issue. But we're spending a lot of money on mental health treatment awareness in our schools with our youth, but it's exploded in today's time and day, and for us not to be talking about the ramifications and the potential impact for housing barriers and homelessness. So we really need to have this on an agenda. So I would wholeheartedly support this. Thank you.
Yeah. One thing online, Tim Eisinger, for you, he said on behalf of Commissioner Trainer, I don't know if you know, you're still here. I would strongly encourage each of you to sign up for updates on the Rural Health Transformation Program. If you haven't already, you put in your email address and put stay informed and sign up for the updates. So, yeah.
Any further comments or ideas, suggestions from the commission? Okay, on a final note, just want to thank Stephanie for all her hard work. It's fantastic. You're really good, really well.
And run time.
And with that, the meeting is adjourned.
6 minutes.
I know, we were cutting it close there.
You met my husband. Well, he has more
Well,
fun.
thank you.
I don't know about
I
that.